Hey, and welcome back to Open Air 24/7. Like always, keeping it real and open. So, tonight I'm going to be bringing you some new content, and it's called Bedtime Stories with E and J. I'm your lovely host, Jay, and my lovely assistant, E, is not here. Normally, I would introduce this as E and J, but she's sleeping because, like the title of this, it's called Bedtime Stories. It's a podcast after we put our three kids to sleep. We got a 3 year old, a 2 year old, and a 1 year old. They keep us pretty busy during the day, so we have limited time to do things like this. So I figured, what better name than Bedtime Stories? So, during Bedtime Story Podcast, we're going to be talking about all kinds of different things: life, finances, religion, you name it, we'll talk about it. This is still open air 24/7, where we keep it real and open and we talk about any and everything. And we're not changing that motto. So, without further ado, let's get into it. On today's episode of Bedtime Stories, we're going to be discussing a couple of topics. One is going to be good people keep fighting the good fight. Sometimes it hurts to be good. Second subject we're going to be talking about is medical care. Talk about the first subject that's near and dear to my heart. It's good people. I consider myself a good person, somebody that continues to fight down the demons, regardless of the situations I find myself in and the people I meet. These people have tried to make me turn into an evil person. Just like some of you out there have been faced with some of the same similar situations to where people want to drag you down to their level. And maybe you think about going down to their level. Maybe you think about becoming the bad person, because I surely have. I thought about how good it would feel to just top them, knowing that I can, knowing that I could be bigger, badder, meaner, more disrespectful than them. And it's usually those kind people that, instead of turning evil, instead of doing those evil things that are being done to that individual like myself, we don't do that. But we know deep inside our heart and inside our soul, inside of our mind, that our capability to resist becoming evil and to not be, I wouldn't say tempted, because we're all good people are tempted to become evil, but to fight back that urge to become evil, it takes a lot of intestinal fortitude. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of gahunas, and a lot of pain and suffering comes along with being a good person. Because, like I keep trying to hit the nail on the head here, people like me, and if you're out there, comment. Let me know you're out there, because I know I cannot be the only person in this world that has these thoughts. Definitely when something bad happens, at the hand of somebody that is just whatever, having a bad day. Let's sum it up. Let's simplify it. Let's having a bad day. So they do something to me or another individual like me that doesn't necessarily react the way they either want you to, or maybe they want you to not react. Maybe they want that control. Or maybe they're looking for a reaction and they're just not going to get one. But nevertheless, the individuals that are able to just brush that off, and by brush off, I don't mean just brush off and not think about. Like, I'm the type of guy that I'll brush it off in the moment because it's not worth my time most of the time. But I still carry that. I still think about those things sometimes. It still bugs me how things have happened. But the good people, do not underestimate us good people, because I'm very certain in my abilities. If I was to go dark, which I never will, it would be darker than anything I've seen so far. Yes, the things I've seen have been messed up and like, wow, don't know how that's happening, don't know why it's happening, but I do know that it's nowhere near the demons that I can unleash with all the built up demons that I have piling up in the closet. So that's not to peacock. That's not to make myself sound crazy. It's not to make myself seem like I am better than anybody, because I don't think being angrier and being able to be meaner or more disrespectful is a good quality. I don't. We're talking about it right now. It's not a good quality to have, but it's comforting, reassuring to know that these people that think they're really doing something and really getting under people's skin, they're truly not getting under the skin of good people. Yes, we think about it, but it's nowhere near the evil that we could unleash. Um, and I pride myself in being able to contain that, to contain those demons, because a lot of people cannot contain those demons. And I'm specifically talking about good people here because it's important to talk about those that are like me. Those that, instead of fighting fire with fire, you fight fire with, kindness. You fight fire with love. You fight fire with just walking away from a situation and not getting yourself into it. That in and of itself is so stressful. It causes so many different things to go on in a mind like mine and like others out there like me. It has us questioning a lot of things in life. It has us thinking forward a lot. It has us thinking in the past a lot. Some people call it depression, some people call it anxiety, I agree with some of that, but I think it's honestly a tool. It's a tool in our tool bag to know kind of how to predict people and their behavior. But I don't want to get too far away from the message that I'm trying to bring tonight. I just want to shout out to all those good people out there, because listen, like I said before, it hurts to be good sometimes. Sometimes you're going to want to be evil, but don't do that. Stick to being good, because you're going to get rewarded for it. You're going to have nicer things. You're going to feel nicer about yourself. You're going to be able to sleep at night. You're going to be able to not have to put on a facade all the time. You're going to be able to be yourself more. And when I say be yourself, like, sometimes going out in public is a nuisance in and of itself, because I don't feel like I can be myself in public. Like, it's very rare that I feel like I can be myself in public. It just depends on the situation. But when I say you can be yourself without feeling bad, like, I know these people that are out here doing all these bad things to people for no reason. I know, like, at the end of the day, when they wake up in the morning, there's something troubling them, whatever it may be. It could be their own fault. It doesn't have to be their fault, but there's something troubling them. Something, whether it be, a demonic spirit, whether it be a situation they're in. There's something that they don't like about themselves, that they're having to do things to other people. And what I mean by you could wake up, you could look in the mirror and feel good about yourself, is we don't, as good people, we don't have to worry about that, because we're not trying to go out here and break people's spirits because we're in a bad situation. Like, when my mother died, we drove up to Tennessee, or over to Tennessee, shall I say, for the funeral. And on that ride, we had two motorcycles pull up beside the truck. We were in the slow lane with the RV, and they were in the fast lane, and it was just me and them on the road. Two bikes, and everybody in my truck. They decided they were going to pull up beside the truck and start revving their engines, and then pull in front of me and start, like, going super slow. I know for a fact people in that situation, when their mother just passed, and specifically, in my situation where the person passing is really the only person that's ever been in said person's life, and how, like, how much of a bond was broken when that happened. I know for a fact there's a lot of people that would have reacted very negatively to that situation. They would have run them completely off the road. They would have, done some very bad things to those people without letting it go. And I'm not sitting here just telling you that I wasn't bothered by it at all. Yes, I was heated about the situation, but I was able to contain the monster inside that wanted to come out. That's what good people do. We're able to not let our situation dictate how we treat other people. The worst that you'll probably get from a person like me is silence. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with silence. In fact, I know myself and a lot of people in this world was raised to, if you didn't have nothing nice to say, don't talk at all. And so sometimes there's people out there that misconstrue silence with disrespect, but I don't find it that way. If I'm going into a store and I'm just saying hello and I'm being quiet and I don't have a smile on my face, which I don't think it's 100% necessary to 100% of the time have a smile on your face. I don't think it is. I think it's an individual based thing. If somebody is going through stuff and they don't feel like smiling, that's okay. That's not a problem. Somebody being silent, somebody not smiling is not a problem. The problem is people that are going through things that have them act out. They're not just not smiling and not talking. They're going out of their way to make situations bad for other people. But good people don't do that. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody that has treated me wrong for no reason whatsoever. I can't tell you how many times they've been punished and I've been rewarded. I can't tell you, good people out there, how much reward, how much benefit you'll get from not becoming dark. Just continuing to be that good person, to continue to fight, even when you want to give up, even when you want to conform. You just fight. You fight back those demons because being good is where it is. Being good is an honorable thing to do. Don't be, it's easy. It's super easy. I'm telling you, it is a million times easier to be a disrespectful, rude punk. It is so easy to do that. That takes absolutely no skill whatsoever. Whatsoever. It is so easy to make people feel bad. There's no skill in that. There's no honor in that. You don't want to be that. Your gut might be telling you, let the demons out. Let them see how ugly you can be. Unless you absolutely have to let that out, don't do that. And by absolutely have to let that out, if somebody physically touches you, you might have to let that demon out. But otherwise, push it down. Push it down and keep it down because it's not worth losing yourself to try to express to others that you could do more harm than they are trying to do and are capable of doing. It's better to know your capabilities and not have to use them than to know them and have to use them all the time because once you deploy them, there's no taking that back. There's no taking it back. So I think I've beat that horse pretty dead. Again, shout out to all the good people out there because you matter. Your lives matter. You're important. The world needs you because if you were not here, the world would be filled with nothing but what we don't like. And we can't have that. So keep fighting, okay? On to the next subject. So the next thing I want to talk about is medical care, specifically in the ER. So I don't know about you, but every time something happens to me, I'm very reluctant to seek medical help. And you ask me why. Do you not love yourself? Do you not care about yourself? I do. I care about myself a lot. More than anybody in this world, to be exact. But what I do not care for is to go sit in an ER and know for a fact that I'm going to be in there 8+ hours, regardless. Doesn't matter. I, like a lot of people, do not understand the wait times for simple things like I need an antibiotic. It seems like you should be able to go in, let them know what's going on, let them do their test, and you can even wait in the lobby while you're waiting for the results. And as soon as the results come in, the doctor on duty, the pit boss, or whatever they want to call themselves, can just write you the prescription and you can get your medication and you can leave. An hour tops. It seems like you stub your toe and you think it's broke. You go to the ER, you're going to be waiting a very long time. And I'm not okay with that. And it's not just the wait. See, if I waited 8 hours and I got the treatment that I needed or, that I was waiting for, and I actually got it, I'd be okay with the wait a little bit more than I am with waiting and not getting the care I got. But I've been to the ER numerous times where you go in and they know more about your body and your history than you do, and it's your body. So it's these doctors that, they go to college and they study for tests and they pass the test and then they memory dump all those things and then they just become normal people after so long, and the things that they don't know, so they assume they know everything. Like I went in and the nurse, the registered nurse, the RN didn't even know how to put a O2 sensor on my finger. And like I was sitting there trying to like give her advice, like, and she wouldn't take it. Not that I was offering any good advice, I was more or less asking questions and being like, "Hey, why don't you try this?" But nevertheless, I'm the patient. She should know how to do it. So she had another lady come in, and right away, boom, she stuck it on my finger and it started reading my oxygen level. But I tell you, I would be lying if I said she didn't act like she knew everything there was to know about being a doctor and about people's body. That same visit, I was the doctor recommended me get a CT scan, and I went against his orders and was like, "No, I'm good." I had too many X-ray, CT scans, MRIs when I was in the military that I don't want to subject myself to any more radiation. Because a lot of people don't know that these things are bad. CT scans, are bad. X-rays are bad. MRIs are okay because they're not using radiation. But these CT scans and these X-rays, especially of like soft tissue organs that are very responsive to radiation, and your brain, your head. A lot of people don't realize that you should not get those things unless it's absolutely like life threatening, like important. And the doctors don't care because one, they're making money. Two, they're uneducated, and three, it's just pharmacia. They want you to be unaware of these things. There's articles, research, data that talks about these things that aren't out there like they should be, that discuss like the risk, the like what you're subjecting your body to. How many, like, the percentage of like what radiation is in which, like how much radiation is in a CT scan, how much radiation is in an X-ray. And those numbers are out there, but the doctors don't care about that. So I was supposed to get a CT scan, and I said, "No, I'm good. No, I'll take an ultrasound, or MRI." Well, he was already talking about, the IV, that they put in you for the dye, the contrast. And, the nurse had come back in, the same nurse that couldn't get the thing on my finger. She come back in and she was like, "Hey, I thought you expressed, that you didn't want to do a CT scan." I was like, "Yeah, you're right." He kind of almost talked me into getting one. And so I let her know, "Yeah, let him know I'm good. I don't want it." And so he comes back in and he's like, "So you decided not to get it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was already not wanting to get it, and you almost talked me into it, and I'm not getting it. I'll do the ultrasound instead." So she comes in and she lets me know that she's gonna hook me up to an IV. When I get back from the ultrasound that I was going to, and I started asking questions like, what do you mean hooking me up to IV for what? What's it gonna do?" I'm not dehydrated. I'm in here for, what I'm in there for, and she's like, she brushes it off basically. And so I go do the ultrasound, and it goes, and I'm explaining this one story, but this story speaks not for myself, but for a lot of people that, go to the ER to seek care and they don't even get care. They spend like 8 to 12 hours in a ER and they don't receive any care. This is the story. Like, it's just one example out of, the hundreds of thousands that people have out there. Um, so I go to the ultrasound, and the person doing my ultrasound is a newbie. She doesn't even know like what she's doing. Like, the belly button region is a very hard region to one. It's a hard region to get because of the hollowness of the belly button. And when you're trying to find out if there's a hernia in there, you have to be really skilled with it. Well, I guess they didn't find it that important that the skilled seasoned technician should do that instead of a new trainee. So the trainee tried and the skilled technician tried, and it come back absolutely nothing. They didn't see anything. They didn't see a mass. They didn't see hernia. They didn't see anything. And the funny thing is, I had absolutely no hope that they would, based off them fumbling me while I was in there, which is the crazy thing. So I get back to the room. I don't really have too much hope for that the results of that ultrasound. So she again starts talking about this IV, and I'm again asking questions like, why? What's it going to do? Again, she brushes it off and hooks me up to it anyways. And so I'm sitting there and texting my wife like, they got me hooked up to an IV, and she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. So then I'm texting my sister, and I'm like, they got me. She's an RN, and I'm like, hey, they got me hooked up to an IV. She's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, you should ask him. And so when the doctor comes back in the room, I'm like, hey, why did I just get this IV, the full bag put through me? And he was like, well, it was for the CT scan that you never got. And I was like, on the inside, I was flipping out. I was flipping cartwheels. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you knew, I knew, the nurse knew that I was not getting the IV. The nurse that put not the IV, the CT scan, the nurse that hooked me up to the IV knew that I wasn't getting the CT scan. So why was I given the CT? Why was I given the IV after I get my ultrasound? Like after, like I can even maybe possibly understand if they gave it to me before the ultrasound, but I've already had my ultrasound, and now, I'm getting the IV, and so he chuckled when he said that. He said, "Well, it was for the CT scan that you didn't get." And then he said to me, not all is lost. It'll help you because it was really hot outside around this time. And he's like, it'll help you with the dehydration. And I'm thinking to myself, minimal risk, minimal infection risk with an IV. It's heard of, but it's not common. But still, there's a medical risk there associated with a needle being stuck in your arm and sitting there for the long period that it was, and also putting those fluids in your body. It could have been, my body can add a reaction to the stuff in the IV, rare. I could have got a bacterial infection or some type of infection, in my blood vein, because that needle is going directly into my blood vein. And all of it would have been unnecessary because I wasn't supposed to get that. That was for something different. So what bothered me was the doctor saying, oh, not all is lost. If it was something else, it would have been even more serious. But I don't think in any medical situation you should be administered to any type of medication, IV. I don't even care. Placebo pills, doesn't matter. You shouldn't be given stuff that you do not need. Definitely, if it poses a risk, like something going into your arm, like a needle, piercing the skin and into your actual bloodline, like that's a big deal. And so, I was really, really wrong by that. And so he had looked at my belly button and got the results back from the ultrasound, and they come back negative for an abscess and negative for a hernia. I knew I had a hernia because when I was in the military, I've had imaging done, and there's a confirmed hernia in my belly button. What I did not know if it was an umbilical hernia that was messing with my intestines that was causing me to leak bowels. That's what I didn't know, because at the time I had an abscess on my belly button, and it wasn't the first one. It was like not on it, like in it. It wasn't the first one I had. I had a couple when I was in the military, and I've had a couple since I've been out. And I was really just tired of getting these weird, like my belly button would basically like swell shut, and like it'd be very painful to bend over. I was just sick and tired of like having that, so I wanted answers. And so when I went to the ER, I was, one, trying to get the antibiotic that I previously had when I had the same exact thing. They gave me an antibiotic and knocked it out, and boom, I was back to normal. I was trying to get that, but I was also trying to get answers. I wanted answers as to why this keeps happening to me. So, when the doctor come back and he was like, hey, the results for the ultrasound are negative for, the abscess and the hernia. I was like, there's no way there's a hernia in there. I know there's a hernia in there. And so he started talking about post surgery, like a surgery on my belly button. And I'm like, I never told you or anybody that I've had any operations on my belly button. I've never had any operations. The only operation I ever had was when I had my modified rostrum procedure and my ankle arthroscopy when I broke my ankle jumping out of airplanes. That's the only surgery I've ever had. So whatever you're pulling out of whatever, tricks you're trying to pull out of your hat there, you're making stuff up, because I've never had surgery like on my belly button. So whatever you're saying doesn't even make sense. And so he looked at the belly button. He's like, do you know there's no drainage? And I'm like, there's drainage. I took a video and I even showed him the video, like, because I know how doctors are. You don't, you clean it out because you're supposed to clean it out, but then you show up and you have nothing in there, and they're like, there's nothing there. Well, I took the video before, and like he's like, yeah, there's nothing there now, and I'm like, I can make something come out, and his exact words were, I didn't think you could make any come out. Somebody said you couldn't make anything come out. My problem with that is no one ever asked me to make anything come out. No one, I never told anybody that nothing could come out. In fact, I could make stuff come out. Like, it's painful, but I can make stuff come out. And all you had to do was say, make stuff come out. So I begged and I pleaded. I had to beg and I had to plead with this doctor that's in a position to supposed to take care of me, supposed to make sure that I'm healthy. I had to beg and plead with him to take a culture. He stuck it in my belly button. The Q-tip that was white when he stuck it in my belly button come out yellow. When it come out yellow, he said, see, there's nothing there, but I'll send it off to the labs just for whatever. And sends it off. 2 days later, I get the lab results from, the lab person. And they're like, hey, you've tested positive for this protobellum. I think it was a gram negative. I think it's a gram negative. Bacteria that is a gut floral. So it's like basically found in your guts. It's one of the floral bacteria in your gut. And so I'm like, why is that in my belly button? Like, is this hernia like leaping, like seeping, like intestinal stuff? Like, again, I want answers. I still want answers. So he had put me on some type of antibiotic cream that was the opposite of whatever bacteria was actually present. So I think it was a gram positive antibacterial cream that absolutely did nothing because the protobellum, if I'm saying it right, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that bacteria does not respond to the drugs that, the cream that I was given to treat the problem. So when I went back to the ER, because the doctor told me the prescription would be in the ER pharmacy, when I went there, they didn't have nothing. So the pit boss didn't put any notes in the system when he called me to let me know the results. And so the only thing they had to go off of was this doctor that didn't know absolutely anything about what he was talking about, saying this man doesn't need antibiotics unless I approve it. So when I show up, I have to wait 30 minutes. I have to go back to the ER. And luckily, the woman that didn't know how to put the thing on my finger, she was there. And she was able to go talk to, I guess, the pit boss, the current pit boss. And like after, again, 30 minutes of sitting around waiting for something that should have been put in, because they called 2 days prior for me showing up to let me know the prescription was in there. So it should have already been in there and I could have just picked it up. So like it was just a big kerfluffle. When I walked out of that ER, I remember the feeling I had. And I know a lot of you out there that have to deal with the ER type situations know the feeling where it's a hopeless feeling. Like you feel completely out of control of your life. You feel completely out of control of the situation. There's absolutely nothing that you feel like you can do because these people in these doctor positions, they really honestly think they know everything. Like they're the rude. I'm not saying every single doctor out there is that way. Of course, I'm not saying that. Don't assume that. Like, I'm just saying for the majority of the times that I've been to the ER, these doctors and these nurses and these RNs and these LPNs, they all seem like they come off, they don't seem like it. They come off like they know everything. They get mad when you ask questions. They get mad when you tell them they're wrong about something that you know that you're right about. And it's our bodies. It's my body. It's your body. Like these doctors, they have to really honestly understand that they're public servants, just like police officers. They're public servants. Doctors are public servants. They're put in a position. They go to college to learn how to treat things. They're not scientists. They're not studying people. They go to school to learn what things are. They go to school to supposed to learn what things look like, how to treat it, not to assume they know everything. Not to, oh well, I don't think there's a mass in there, and I don't think there's any infection in there, or I don't think there's a hernia in there, or you had surgery on this belly button, but you never had surgery on this belly button. Oh, I'm going to give you this IV that, I know that you're not supposed to have anyways, like this is what doctors do, and it's completely wrong. And it leaves people like me and a lot of other people that I don't want to have to be aggressive when I go into the doctor. I don't want to have to scream at somebody. I don't want to have to get in an argument over my care. I feel like it should be, I go in, I say, hey, listen, I've had this issue before. They gave me antibiotics before. It knocked it out. I need those to knock it out because I don't want the infection to spread to any other parts of my body. And in the meantime, I need to figure out what exactly is going on and why this keeps happening. I don't need to be met with, there's nothing going on. I don't see anything. Because let me tell you, when I got the antibiotic, like it was happening about a week. So I put up the pool. Um, and I guess I was hot outside and I was sweaty. So I thought maybe it was like because I stayed sweaty for a long period of time. I thought maybe it was something like that. But it started off feeling like something different, but it ended up being the same exact thing. And like by the time I went to the doctor, because I had given it a couple of days to like just fix itself, like I always do, because I hate going to the ER. I'd given it a couple of days, and by the time I went in, it had been 2 days. And it was 2 days after the people called me back. So it's a total of 4 days where the belly button was just, basically swollen shut. And then I got the antibiotics and it knocked it completely out. So we're talking 4 days. We're talking not 4 days, well, 2 days. 2 days basically. We're talking 2 extra days of me having that issue because when I took the antibiotics, it knocked it right out. And the craziest part of the story is I knew exactly what I needed when I went to the ER. Like I called my PCM and I said, my PCM at the VA, and I said, hey, is there any way that I can get an antibiotic? They said I had to go to the ER to be prescribed the antibiotic. So I went to the ER with the intentions of getting the antibiotic right then and there. I didn't plan on walking away with some antibiotic cream that didn't even fight the right bacteria. And I was completely blindsided, let down. I felt so alone and cold. And I know y'all know the feeling I'm talking about if y'all have dealt with this. Like I literally wanted to cry. That's how it was. I literally I was mad and sad at the same time. It was like, wow. Like I'm shocked that in this world we live in today, not only do I have to know how to do what it is that I have to do, whether it be anything, like, say, I have to know how to take care of kids, I have to know how to work on cars, I have to know how to work on the AC unit, I have to know how to do maintenance, I have to know how to do all this stuff, you know, but on top of that, I have to know how to be a doctor for myself. Like we live in a world where like this stuff doesn't matter. Like these people go to school, but they still don't know anything. The only thing they do know is that they're in a position that they had to go to school for, and they feel super entitled to give their opinion, even if it's not the right opinion, and it doesn't matter because they will aggressively shut you down. But in this world, like you have to know things because if you don't know stuff, like say I did my research prior to going in and I knew the types of, bacteria, medicine that fought which bacterias. When that doctor prescribed me that cream, I could have been like, dude, do you not know what you're doing? That is not going to work for this bacteria. You know what I mean? Or things like that. But the problem is, people like me, we don't, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like I don't know anything, but I don't think it's my job to have to know how to do everything in this world. How to be a doctor, how to be a police officer, how to be a judge, how to be a lawyer, how to be a chef, how to be a nurse, how to like be a gardener. Like it's not my responsibility to try to have to do all these things. That's why people go to school and that's why there's different trades and there's different career paths. It's because these people that are in these roles are supposed to know how to do their job. And we shouldn't have to depend on us doing our research to do this. Like that's their job. But where I find myself in and where a lot of people find their stuff in 2022, it's crazy, is you do have to know all this stuff. Because if you don't, just like this, if you go to drop your car off at, like, definitely if you're a female, if you go drop your car off at a mechanic shop, there's a chance that they might try to just lie to you and you don't know what's going on because you don't know anything about cars. So you're just like, yeah, I'll get that. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, that sounds like it's really broken, so I'll do that. And there's nothing wrong with your car, but because you don't know that, you don't know what you don't know. That's the type of world we live in, where people take advantage of people. Doctors take advantage of people. Police officers do it too. They literally, intentionally. What is it? Now I'm thinking of what is it? They break rules. Let's just say that they break rules. They try to trick people. They try to walk on people. They try to use their authority. So there in every profession it's like that too. So I'm not just like limiting it to like all these like first responders and like public servants. Like it can happen anywhere. Like it's happened in trucking companies, it can happen at dang Pizza Hut, McDonald's. It doesn't matter. But these people like they feel entitled. Like, and if you don't know what you don't know, you're gonna be lost. And I hate to say it, but like this is the world we live in. This is what you can do. You can either learn a lot of things or you can be basically a yes man to everything. And I'm not okay with being a yes man, but I'm again not okay with having to be the subject matter expert on every single thing, every single job. And like I said, I just find it super sad that you have to, because these doctors will take advantage of you. And one of the things my grandma by marriage told me a while back is it's your body. You have to speak up. And so I'm learning that, but it's like one of them hard things where I don't want to have to get in an argument. But it seems like anymore you have to. You have to get in an argument because these doctors are going to assume they know your body and what's going on more than you do. Like it's okay that we don't know the medical terms or this, but like when we go in and we say, hey, we got this abscess in it, it's been draining. Like these doctors, they need to listen to us regardless of what's going on in that time they're seeing us. They need to listen to us. They need to listen to what we're saying because it's our body. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they took an oath. They took an oath for that. But that concludes today's podcast. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know your thoughts on the two subjects. Again, we talked about good people continuing to be good, and it hurts to be good sometimes. And we talked about medical professionals specifically, or the medical industry, specifically in the ER, and experiences with that, and like how I view, ER visits and stuff like that. Let me know what you think. If this video helped you or made you feel like you're not crazy, give it a like. Make sure you share this video to anybody that you think might find this interesting. And make sure if you're not already subscribed, please, please subscribe. I promise you I'm going to be bringing you better content, more content. This is just the first episode of Bedtime Stories with E and J. So prepare, my co-host, she'll be on. My wife, of course, she'll be on. She might not be on camera, but she'll be on. And yeah, I got a funny story. I'll say that for next time when she's on because it's pretty funny. I think it's pretty funny. But anyways, stay tuned. This is Open Air 24/7. Like always, keeping it real and open. We out.